We'll let somebody get in here. You can see people getting here.
Yeah, it'll
All right,
say.
so gotta go.
You said
You can
what?
you can check out the live. The live is on Twitter and stuff. You can check it out. All right, so
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were talking to me. I was like, oh, I love you too, man.
oh man,
Man, let's talk about it though, man. What a great show we just did with Trey. He should be in here shortly.
oh man.
Man, what a good episode.
Trey. Caleb, man. Trey hits a lot of things right on the point, man. Because once again, man, the things I love about having guys as veterans and not just guys that just been around the league, but guys that actually have experience in the league, man. It's hard to come by some of the experiences, some of the things they've been through, man, and seen over the time in Pittsburgh, man. And that's like how I always told you, man. I never take for granted the opportunities and the relationships I built with some of the guys over there in Pittsburgh because, I mean, it's nothing like it, man. I'm grateful to have played several years in Pittsburgh and a couple years of Titans and a years of Jaguars, and just to see the comparisons, man, and from team to team, and just see some of the things that Pittsburgh offers, man. Not just physically money or just the relationships you build, man. It's just like nothing like it, bro. So, and just hearing Trey reiterated, man, just to still away, man, and just that's really a lifestyle. The still away, man, and it's not the same way everywhere you go, man. And I know you coming from a fan standpoint, but it's real, bro. Like you don't get those same opportunities, those same relationships, and same ways of growing as a young man into a man in the league in different places. Like Pittsburgh has have been the best place, man.
Yeah, I mean that I can he's in the waiting room now, and I couldn't think of a better introduction than you just did. All I can say is 11-year-old Caleb thinking back then that I'd be talking to Trai Essex, Super Bowl champion, about Steelers football. It's a lifelong dream. So we're gonna introduce him into the live stream. Here he is.
What's
our
up,
guy.
Trey is in the building.
It's a little late, fellas. I was checking my email, clicking and went to a different email box. So my bad for being a little late.
No, you're good. You're
Man,
good.
you good now. You good, man. Now when you just came in, man, we were just talking a little bit about, man, just kind of how we just recapping about the show we just had, man. Because one, we don't want to tell too much about happening the show. They want them to go watch it tomorrow. But just talk overall about, man, just the I don't know, the honor to have like guys that played before us, man. And you played way before I did, before I got to Pittsburgh. Yeah, I got to play with Ben, but you played before. You played way before I got there, man. And just having some of those experiences you shared, man, follow some of the guys you played with, and just to still away, man. And you don't find some of these stories by fans or people that just big time, like I said, big time fans, man. You really get these type of stories and situations from people that actually played on the South Side and actually experience some of these things. So those things, man, I think that's the most grateful thing, man. Me being a Steeler and playing for the Steelers, and you just don't find that with other teams, man. I think for me,
you're right. It's different. I played obviously the majority of my career in Pittsburgh. Went to Indy towards the end of my career, and Indy, pretty much a team built by Peyton Manning, had a lot of success. And so you think it would be a similar transition, but it wasn't. Being a Steeler is it's a way of life. It's different, and it's a type of personality. It's a type of mindset, and it's a type of respect you show the players that paved the way before you. Especially being an old lineman, when you gotta line up, knowing that Dermontti Dawson was doing it at a high level, knowing that Alan Faneca was right next to me, and I had to step my game up to make sure that I didn't embarrass myself next to this Hall of Famer next to me, and so.
Right.
And then going to Indianapolis, not to say that Jim Irsay is a very active owner, but he's not like the Rooneys. The Rooneys were in the training room. I'll tell the story. I go to work out in the morning, and I get my breaks. I used to get there early to get some cardio in before meetings. And lo and behold, old man Rooney's in there already on an elliptical, reading the newspaper. And dude, that is
crazy, bro. Like he still did that while I was there. Like always in the morning on the elliptical, bro. That's crazy. And he'd come out with black pants on.
That was just there, personable. You could talk to. Him and Ike were like this. Like, it was cool to see that relationship that he had, and all of that goes into this Steeler way, and it starts with the Rooneys and how they lead, and obviously who they chose to have lead our teams. And I was drafted by Coach Cowher, Hall of Fame coach, and then got to play for Coach Talman for 6 years, future Hall of Fame coach. And they know how they want the team to be run, and they know who they want to lead it. And it trickles down to how the players perform on the field and how they go around carrying themselves around the rest of the league, because they knew they had a standard to uphold.
Yeah, it's a big family atmosphere. I mean, even as a fan, I've never met any of the Rooneys a day in my life, but you could just see they project that family atmosphere. And I know that Ike and Mr. Rooney relationship was very, very well highlighted.
Mhm.
Ike was very vocal about it. What did he call him? Oh,
It slips my mind too. But yeah, that was his dog. It was a
yeah,
beautiful thing, man.
yeah. I mean, I don't think there is no other organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the way it's ran. 3 head coaches since Chuck Noll was hired in 69, 68,
Yeah.
something like that. And I mean, we've had 3 head coaches since. It's unheard of.
Mhm.
And we actually have a comment down here for you, Trey, from
Yeah,
Miles.
nice. Yeah.
He said, Trey, I just want to say you guys were all a really nice addition to the draft. So was Stryker, added a ton of value. Great job. Hey, I appreciate that too. Hey,
definitely, man.
No, it just, adding to that, it's a beautiful thing. Even though we're going through a transition right now with a new quarterback, Kenny Pickett in his second year, and now we have a new GM after Kevin Colbert resided over 3 Super Bowl teams, 2 Super Bowl champions, and we didn't skip a beat. This draft was probably the greatest draft in my adult life as a Steeler, outside, the 2005 draft. We were pretty good with Heath Miller and Brian McFadden,
I
and
agree.
those.
yeah.
I'm kind of partial to that draft. You know what I'm saying? But like this draft, Omar Khan's first one, and it was his 10th one or his 15th one. He was a vet in there. He really held his own. He picked, and not to get too far into it, all guys that we loved, and it was really hard for us to try to pick a best or worst, because the whole draft was great. And that just goes to an example of how the Steelers do it and how they stayed the course for over half a century plus. And it gives us all the confidence in the world as former players, and now true blood Steeler Nation fans, like as I've converted to, and I'm excited to see what we do this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. We talked about it, and on the show, which you guys need to check out. It's going to be released tomorrow. All of our draft reactions. It's a little bit longer of an episode than we usually record, but that's the beauty of the 3-point stance. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 2 hours long. Either way, it's going to be great content, and who better to have than 2 former offensive linemen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Usually I
And the
get
great
to say
thing
one.
about that, we come from 2 eras. The 2 different eras ain't nothing changed.
Like, you might as well line up right next to each other, D. You can't even tell.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, that'd have been great, man. Dog, man.
We got a pretty good question from Miles over here. He says, how do you evaluate how the con artist is doing right now? Do you think he'll have a better GM tenure than Colbert?
Let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame career.
Say, man,
that's a Hall of Fame career.
Now, get me
it's
wrong.
Like, dog, this is his first time.
I mean, Omar Khan has got off to one hell of a start, and it started March 6th or whenever the start of the new year started. And when he started getting active in free agency, I thought everything he did was great, considering our cap situation. Omar being our cap guru for a decade plus, so he knew what he was doing and what we needed and how the numbers worked. And then he came out and just hit a home run with this draft. So it's too early to call his career better Then future Hall of Famer Kevin Colbert, who resided over three Super Bowl teams, 2 Super Bowl champions, and produced plenty of Hall of Fame talent along the way. But I mean, he's got off to a hell of a start. So if he stays the course,
I agree, man. Definitely got out to a great start, man. He's definitely bringing the tradition back, man, with this class right here as a tough, hard-nosed, physical football team. And he understands, man. Been on the Cobra for a while, man. He understands how it's supposed to be ran. So, man, I got faith in him that it's possible. His sky's the limit, but he still got to continue to put the work in, man, and continue to improve every year, man.
Yeah, I mean, and then Smash Mouth football is fully back. It's back. And
I wouldn't say fully back, but it's definitely better than it was last year. They definitely have elevated from last year to now.
With that Darnell pickup, that's when I knew it was back. Because I mean, you just like his Instagram handle is the 6th offensive lineman. He embraces it.
I love that, man.
It's like just good luck. Good luck trying to stop the run against this new offensive line.
Yeah. Now that we got Coach Meyer back for a second year, and all those guys, the holdovers got all that experience, and we added Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl runner-up from last year, and Isaac's always mess up his last name, so I'm just gonna call him Isaac. And left guard, and add Broderick and Darnell Washington. I'm with you, Caleb. I think we got the pieces to bring the Smash Mouth back, and that's the attitude we want to have. I know Najee's happy. I know Kenny's happy. Their offense improved dramatically with this draft and this offseason through free agency, so it's going to be fun.
So since I got 2 Big Ten guys in here, you remember our guy Brian Davis? You know, he posted this great comment right here. He's got another great comment that I love deep down to my heart, and all I have to say is, right
now.
MARYLAMD Maryland will win.
So a fun story for everybody. You know, the 3 of us, we all got introduced to Steeler Nation on the same day, same time. You know, Trey's in the group me and he's talking like Northwestern. So I bring up Ohio State. He's like, I hate you. I'm like, oh no, this is my chance and it's gone.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I mean, I know Ohio State don't really look at us as lowly Indy Wildcats as much of a threat, but I know I beat Ohio State my senior year, so that's all I got to say.
I've never beat Ohio State, man. It was a dream come true just to beat Michigan and the Big House in 2014. Like, it was like, bro, like, and we never did it again. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, to the point they was just intercepting our passes, man. They was just laughing about it. Like, we tried to run a reverse flea flicker type of thing with them, man. They intercepted Jabril Peppers, almost took it to the crib, and it was just like they was laughing while they was doing it. And I was like, yeah, Big Ten ain't our ball no more, man.
We got Big Ten guys, man, and we all appreciate the Omar bringing a few Big Ten guys into the fold as well as the SEC. So.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 Big Ten.
5 of the 7 picks were Big Ten. The other 2 were some dogs out of Georgia. Which brings us to this next question, another great question by Miles. What is it about Georgia football that just pumps out absolute studs? It really seems like Tomlin and Kahn really love those guys, Pickens, Broderick, Washington. Me personally, Kirby Smart, he's a great coach. He's doing something right over there. He's getting and I think
he came from Bama. Kirby came from Bama.
Yeah. And I know there was something I heard something where Tomlin's daughter, I believe, is getting a scholarship to Georgia to swim or something like that. So he's got that connection in Georgia now. So he's going to be there often. And I'm sure whenever he goes down there to see his daughter, he's going to be looking at that football team too, you know?
Right.
At this point, it's about to be like another Merlin connection.
I mean, it's easy to love and fall in love with those players. Kirby's doing something right. He has the right position coaches coaching up all these guys. And there's a reason why they won back-to-back national championships. I mean, they're doing a good thing down there. Over there, they are the class of the SEC right now, and they had to take something special to overcome Alabama and be that and overcome them and be the top school in the SEC. So, I mean, it's hard not to fall in love with a lot of those players. Obviously, the other team in the state on the east side is doing the same thing in Philadelphia and drafting all those Bulldogs. So, I mean, they're doing well too. So
we're getting the offensive guys, they're getting the defensive guys. Like I remember I was on day 3, the day 3 show with Stryker, and we were talking about Ringo. I was like, I wouldn't hate him here. Like 3 picks later, Philly picks him. I was like, I should have known we weren't gonna get a Georgia defensive player.
Philadelphia Bulldogs, man. You can't call them Eagles no more.
Yeah.
So,
do you got anything to say on that?
Nah, man, Georgia, man. I mean, they some dogs, man. They exactly what they are, man. Like you ain't really got too much to say about them, man. I think Georgia's doing an amazing job, man, getting great talent out and bringing them to Pittsburgh first and foremost. So just keep them guys coming in, man. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. And this is another, we got another great question here from the Cardinals Standard. I wish I knew your first name, but what do you think the 2023 Steelers draft would look like if Colbert was still calling the shots?
It looks very similar. It would look very similar.
So Joey Porter may have been our first round pick. I think he would have been. I don't think we would have traded up. I don't know if we would have traded back to get that extra pick that we got to go get Nick Herbig, because there was a stat that came out that we've traded back since 2010 only 3 times, and that's not a lot, and that's under Colbert. Obviously, I don't think he was a big fan of it. That's a hard question. It's a good question. Good question. Hard question.
I do think Omar's style is a little bit more assertive. Although I know we traded up to get Bush. I know we traded up to get Troy. Yeah, that's all I could think of. We didn't trade up to get Ben. We stood pat, right? And so
stood pat. Cleveland fumbled that bag.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when the Spirit moved Colbert, he made the move, but it just didn't move him very much. And so Omar, although he traded up once and traded back once, and so it was just good to see. I don't want to compare the two styles yet until we get a few more years under Omar to really know what the contrast is between the two. But I mean, obviously Colbert is a future Hall of Famer, and Omar just had a fantastic draft. Now let's verify that with an improved and much better season this year, so that we can really call this draft what it was and what we think it is, and that's outstanding.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's the main point of this draft was physicality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes,
Herbig's an outside linebacker. He is height-wise smaller than the 2 corners we drafted, in Joey and Corey Trice, who somebody brought it up here in it's Miles again. Hold on, where'd it go? There it is. He said he was upset that we didn't get Ringo, but watching Corey Trice's film, he's like a 3rd-round talent, and that's what a lot of scouts had him projected as. But like Darnell, he had some injury stuff come up or some knee issues come up, and he sort of slid. And I mean, he could be a guy. Him and Joey lined up. You got a 6'2", 6'3" guy over on the other side. I know we talked about this on the recording earlier, so we won't give out too much details, so everybody has a reason to tune in and check out the 3 Point Stance podcast tomorrow. But I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought we had a home run Corey Trice. Just when I thought we had enough home runs for the draft, we go and get another Big Ten Purdue guy who physically looks like a stud. And like you said, was graded a lot higher, dropped due to some injuries. But I mean, the potential is there for him to exceed where we drafted him at, and I think we're going to give him every opportunity to do so. Now, it's a crowded room. We've talked about all the
Super
all-season
crowded.
additions that we added and all the players we have, but I think he's going to get every opportunity to shine, and I thought they got great value with that pick. So
it's such a nice change to see, though. Like, we're talking about the DB room being crowded. I just think of the years where it was Antoine Blake, Ross Cockrell, like I can't. Who was the third corner? Was it? I think Will Gay was the third corner on that team.
Will Gay was still there.
So we had him.
He Cortez Allen, but that might have been before. So
he was, and then like he was like that one guy. Like, oh my, we drafted a corner. We did it. We did it, and then he goes off. We gave. I'm thinking of Keenan Lewis. I'm sorry. That was Keenan went to the Saints. After that, he was a dog, and then Cortez butted after him. That's what it was. And then we gave Cortez the money. Cortez then fell off a cliff.
Right. But it's a beautiful mix of youth and veteran leadership in that secondary. That's going to be really the story about how well our defense can potentially be this year. And I think the potential is off the chain. And like we talk about depth, we talked about secondary depth. We got a lot of depth on the offensive line, which is something else that we haven't been used to these last few years since our big four left, and the Castro and Ramon and Pouncey and the Villanueva. And so, like we got some depth, and it's exciting, especially as me and D, some former O linemen, can attest to. And to have drawing a blank, Pat Meyer back again in the fold for the second year after having 3 offensive lineman coaches in 3 years. This is a welcome change. I'm just excited about the depth and the potential on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Do you got anything to say on that topic?
Nah, man. Like I said, man, I really think that man, they trend in the right direction, man. I think it should be special, man. Like I say, it's a good mixture in that DB room, and I think, man, I got Corey Trice as we was watching the show, man. I was looking at his highlights, man. I think he can be a guy that's gonna be very interesting to watch, just to see, because I mean, he really could be a bonus. He could be a bonus for this draft class that really sprout as well. Like outside of Nick, who I believe is gonna be the unsung hero of this whole class, that I think is gonna bust it all the way through. I think Corey has a great opportunity as well. It's just going to be a little challenging because of the depth of the room, and let's be real, the politics. I mean, Trey, the politics of being a 7th-round draft pick, he probably won't get many reps, so he really going to have to make it count every time he get his opportunity. And that's just the way it goes, man. And part of being in the NFL and being in a crowded room. So, and you got to think about it, drafted Joey Porter, 2nd round. So, so technically they don't need you, bud, but they can use you, especially if you make it work. So.
And then I'm just gonna say shout out to Miles and Cardinal. You guys are asking great questions right now. This is another really good question. I think he was high on the Steelers board. I thought Trenton Simpson would have been a good pick. Hate that Baltimore got him. If you look at it, that's the time frame we traded back. So my guess is they were comfortable letting Trenton Simpson go, and they knew Darnell Washington was going to be there at 93. I think Darnell was probably the top on their board for a long time after Keanu Benton, and they just kept seeing him fall and fall and fall and fall. And that, Omar made the move to trade back to that 93 spot, and it worked out. Yeah, and of all teams to get him, Baltimore. It's always Baltimore, Cincinnati. We jumped in front of I can't remember if we jumped in front of Baltimore last year, or if we were just in front of Baltimore last year to get Calvin Austin in the 4th round, because I know they were high on him. So I think this was their kind of way of getting back at us, even though I fully believe that Darnell Washington was number 1 on their board, even at pick 80.
I agree.
Any input, guys? No? No?
No, I don't have any
Oh.
input. I'm not really. I didn't know too much about Trent Simpson, so I really didn't have really a big input about him. But yes.
I grew up as a military kid. I'm currently in the military, and they were bringing up his draft story of his dad, and his dad being in the, I believe, the Army for 26 years and deploying 17 times. Like
Wow,
that
and
is
made it back.
that's unreal.
And made it back all in one piece. Wow.
And the fact that it's, the Army, typically they're around 9-month deployments and everything like that. So I don't know if it was like that every single time for his dad, but man, that is a majority of that kid's life. It was hard on me growing up. I know it's hard on my kids. It's that was a crazy stat whenever they were talking about it. That was something I wanted to highlight on him.
I'm actually about to look him up now.
But Trey, I know you got to head out, so we'll let you do your thing. I know you had a really, really long day. You had like 72 events today with your kids and everything like that.
Daddy boy kid, man. But it's all fun and games, man. I'm glad I was able to come on with you guys, man. It's a blast. We'll do this again in the near future, man. But yeah, man, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Let's go.
Yeah, man, Trey, I sent you my number, man. And definitely, man, I'll lock you in, man. So
please do,
man. Appreciate you, Jerry, man. Appreciate you.
No problem. Have a great one, y'all.
You too. Right. So let's go.
By the way, y'all, man, Trey, man, is one of my favorite guests already, man. Trey brings a lot of experience and veteran mindset, man, when it comes to a lot of things, man. Like I said, once again, man, early before the show started, he comes from a long time Steelers background, man, where he's there before. Like he was there around the time when they first built this thing when it comes to Steelers winning, man. And man, we just appreciate his presence, man, and him sharing some of the things he knows, some of his experiences and things of certain players, man. It's all great, man, when it comes to highlighting certain players and understanding why the Steelers did the things they did. So appreciate you, Trey.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Trey. He's the one who projected that opportunity to us on the live first round draft show, which was a blast. Stryker puts on a great show, and shout out to Stryker again for sitting through every single pick of the draft. Like that's it's dedication. It's great. We couldn't do that without him. And again, Trey was a Steeler when, D and I, we were in 4th and 5th grade at the time.
Yep.
We were around that age. And for me as a fan growing up as a, big Steelers fan, to have this opportunity, have this, I guess, sort of spotlight to be able to talk with D, who I was a big fan of when he was on the team. And then to be able to talk, to Trai Essex, who's won Super Bowls. These opportunities are few and far between, and I consider myself very lucky to be able to just talk Steelers football.
Yep.
Tell 10-year-old Caleb that you're gonna talk Steelers football and have an audience doing it, talking to former Steelers players and everything like that. He wouldn't believe me. He also would have said, "You mean he's playing for the Steelers, right?" Caleb, as an adult, is playing for the Steelers. Look, we were too lazy in high school. We didn't keep the grades up. That we had a D2 walk on. that was it. No. That was it.
Man, look, this is a good question, man. We got right here from Ian, man, about the immediate impact of Broderick Jones on the O-line for the Steelers. Me personally, man, I think Broderick got all the personal tools, in my personal opinion, to help, man. I mean, he's very athletic, man. We talked a little bit about the show previously, man. He's very athletic, man. He's a guy that can play in space, man. I think that's one of the things I really love about his game, just getting attached onto these corners and guys in space. It's a hard thing to do when you're a big guy. Coming from me, man, it's one of the hardest things to do is to run out in space and try to get a guy that's probably 150 pounds lighter than you, wiggling and moving and getting up underneath you when you 6'5", running against a corner that's 5'9", and much smaller and lighter than his shoes and his cleats, and trying to get down and get your hands on that guy. It's hard, man. It may look easy, but it's really hard to do. And Broderick is a guy that makes that things look really easy for big guys. And I think the sky's the limit for Broderick, man. I think the more he comes in, the more he knows, the more he develops, the quicker he develops, the better his experience in Pittsburgh will be, man. I think that the sky will be the limit for him, man. And he will continue to grow. And I think he can play all over the line, man. I think he can play guard. I think he can play tackle. Not sure at center, but I know he can be definitely a hell of a guard in my eyes, man. But tackle, man, I think the sky's the limit for him as well.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to have every opportunity to beat out Dan Moore. I think coming in, it's going to be sort of like the Kenny Pickett situation, and I'm sure all Steelers fans agree with me. Kenny beat out Mitch last preseason, so maybe we'll learn from that. And Broderick just brings a different type of athleticism to the line that, in my opinion, we haven't seen since Marquise. So I think he has a legitimate shot to be a day one starter. If not, it's okay. You wean that guy in. Because, we got a division with, Myles Garrett. Who's the Ravens pass rushers right now? They got JPP. I think they still have him. The Michigan guy from last year, David Ajobo. And Cincinnati's got a great front seven.
Yeah.
So he'll hit the ground running, and we usually hit Cleveland or like last year Cincinnati we'll probably end up getting the AFC North game week 1 this year. Hopefully finally it's a home game to get into that. But D, here was a good question for you. It was sort of meant for Trey, but he followed it up. Goes for you as well. As talking about the medical staff and this Miles
Miles, man, I gotta give it to you, Miles, with all these great questions. But
yeah, he said, if anyone is able to help with the injuries, it's the Steelers medical team, which brings me to my next question. So we'll eliminate the Trey part because we didn't get to it in time. How good is that medical team? How well do they treat their players?
Man, I know it's a touchy subject, man, when it comes to NFL guys, players' health, and I know mental health is one of the biggest things that's going on for us athletes and just people in general. So that's a good question, man. I think the staff for the Steelers, man, they do a great job, man, taking care of their players, man, and they understand how hard the guys work, man. From Dr. Bradley, those guys, man, the orthopedic surgeons, man, they do a great job getting guys back. I mean, all the guys over there, man, even the strength staff with Guimond, man, he does it, man. Since I stepped my first day, man, as a rookie when I got drafted there, man, he's helped my knee go tremendously steps up, man, because he understands what it takes to keep your body going. And the whole staff, man, I think they do an unbelievable job. I think it was the best staff that I've seen once again. Like I said in the beginning of the show, man, I've been to 3 teams, man, through my whole career so far. I've only been in 3 teams in the league, and no team compares to the Steelers. Training staff, food, the way they provide us with our food, the resources to our gear, as far as how many pairs of cleats we get. It was just everything was just top notch, man. And we never really heard any backlash from the guy. Oh, we can't do this today, or we don't have enough shirts. So it was always yes. You need this, yes. I need this, yes. So the answer always been for us was yes. And I think that, man, it's just a special team over there, man, from the front office all the way down to the medical team, strength staff, to the cleaning services, man. Everything was very neat, clean, smelled good during the COVID times being there. Everything was sprayed down. I mean, it was a top-notch facility to be in. I mean, it's old. Don't get me wrong. It's an old facility, but at the same time, man, it works, and it was always clean, man.
And I will tell Steeler Nation one thing. Knowing Derwin, anytime this man FaceTimes me, that man is in with a medical staff training room, getting the needle treatment. He's always getting something done. So I'm sure it was probably the same way in Pittsburgh. You got to take care of your body. James Harrison taught Steeler Nation that very well with his regimen. And, D's the same way. He's constantly in there. He's getting poked and stretched, and he's getting it all done. It's like clockwork.
Man, I've been late to several shows now because I'm like I'm racing on the highway, man, trying to get to the show because I was getting my body worked on and just trying to balance it out, man. But man, Miles, that's probably the best question I heard all night, man.
This is our guy Brian. You know, he seems to be between him, Cardinal, and Miles. I'm debating on who's our top fan right now.
Well, right now, Brian's another great question. It's actually a hard question because they have a lot of great talent. But I'm gonna let Caleb distinguish who's gonna be the starting five, and I'll let you know who's gonna be the cut guys. Because the cut guys, I'll start out with them right now, is potentially Mr. Green and Dotson. It's probably the ones that's on the bubble right now being cut. In the starting five, it's too early. It's too early to tell, but I'll let my guy Caleb the GOAT distinguish this for y'all.
Yeah, you know, I'll give you two scenarios. The ideal situation is Broderick Jones wins the left tackle spot, and then we got Dan Moore as that swing tackle. Isaac Samalu, he's going to be the starting left guard. That's written in Sharpie on the depth chart right now. They paid him, everything like that. As of right now, I think Mason Cole's solid. He had injury issues last year. He still only missed like maybe 2 snaps, and I thought he still played really well with those injuries. So I think he still retains the center spot. If not, my sleeper for the center spot would be James Daniels. But if it's Mason Cole, then you go James Daniels right guard and Chooks at the right tackle. Chooks has been solid. That's D's guy.
That's my guy, Chuki.
Yeah. He's been solid. And then worst case scenario, you'll see Dan Moore start the season off at left tackle. You'll see it's still going to be Isaac. That's in Sharpie. Yeah, center. It's still the same. It's just flip flopping the left tackle. That's really all you're going to do. And then we have a really solid guy in Nate Herbig. So there's a potential, like, let's say if James Daniels takes over that center spot, because for those who don't know, he was a very solid center out of Iowa. We have nasty Nate Herbig, brother of Nick Herbig, who we drafted this year, because, you know, we like drafting the family lineage around here.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. If James Daniels goes to center, I see Isaac at left guard and Nate at right. But ideal situation, your interiors, Mason, Isaac, James, and then outside Broderick and Chooks. And we'll go to the cut candidates.
And the cut candidates will be Kendrick Green and my boy Kevin Dotson. I hate to say it, but it's just realistically speaking, man, it's NFL, dog, man. Every day is about what you've done for me lately. And lately, man, Dotson has been on a roller coaster right now. He's been up, he's been down, he's been hurt, he's been there, he's been not playing, he's been, you know what I mean, coming back supposedly, allegedly overweight, sometimes getting into it with the coaches, allegedly. It's been a lot of up and down for his career, up and down, once again, for his career, man. Far as the coaching staffs and far as his playing time, far as his contribution on the team, it's been all types of stuff. So, man, you just never know, man. So,
yeah, it's all gonna curtail off of, you know, how many O linemen they decide to keep. Because I think we can both agree Green's gone. He's gone. Yeah. The writing's up. That's in Sharpie as well. They just haven't called him. Or he blocked the Steelers' phone number so they can't cut him.
OTAs is coming about, so we never know, man. Let's hope for the best and hope that he does make it hard for them. But right now, he is on the top of the list of one of the guys I think will be removed out the room. If he'd be the first one, and then be K. Dot probably next. And then we have what?
I was just gonna say that I'm a big fan of K. Dot. You know, I hope he can stick around. It didn't pan out like we thought it would, but as a backup, he's a high quality backup.
Yep.
So if you have him and Nate Herbig, but yeah, we'll kick it off with this next question. Miles, again, another great question for D. Who was your locker mate, and what are our favorite Tomlinisms?
Okay, my locker mate. I had a great locker mate, man. I don't know where to start from, man. So my locker mate. I mean, my role was crazy. So where there was in my locker, man, to the right of me was Ben Roethlisberger, and to the left of me was Marquise Pouncey, and to the left of him was Mason Rudolph. Not Mason Rudolph. It was me, Ben Roethlisberger, Pouncey. On the opposite side of Ben Roethlisberger was Vance McDonald, and then it was Juju, James Conner, and then to my left was who was literally to my left? Oh, Pouncey, Marquise Pouncey. To the left was him was Al Villanueva, and then it was Dave DeCastro and Matt Fowler. Like it was crazy, man. It was a
Man, all that.
crazy side, man. And then, man, it was a great side, man. So those were my locker guys, man. That was like the 10 people that sat right in that corner, like. And then of course you had the defense and Joe Hayden on the other side. That was definitely, man, sitting beside Ben every day, man. That was just crazy watching him watch his golf with his feet up and cowboy boots on. He come in with his flannel jacket on and his cowboy hat on, and I mean, it's one of those experiences, man. You just blessed to be able to say you was around that, man, and see that every day, man. See Ben, the last one in the locker room, the first one out the locker room. The total opposite of a great player, right? The last one in the locker room, and the first one out. Like, oh man, gotta love Ben, man.
So before we get into the Tomlinisms, let's since obviously Ben had the security guards, as his locker mates in the entire offensive line. What was that relationship like between Ben and Pouncey, and like how like sacred was their bond? Because I mean, we see it as Steeler fans, like they love each other. Pouncey will die for that man.
Man, and you hitting it right on the nose, man. He would die for him, man. I mean, inside of his locker, he had a big picture of Ben back in the day throwing the ball. I mean, you could tell it was an old picture of Ben because he had AstroTurf shoes on. Like, man, it was old, like literally like old tennis shoes on, like hard turf. And there's a picture of Ben, man, back there in the back of his locker. And you look at it every day. I mean, I wouldn't say he physically just stares at it, but the fact that it's in your locker in the middle, so every day you come there to go look for anything, you see Ben. And I think that's just the relationship they had, man. And him and Ben, man, was just so tight. And it was just like you could tell they were so tight because Ben would talk to Pouncey before he talked to anybody first. Like, and it's respectful because he snaps the ball for them. They played 10 plus years together, and he loved his whole O line, especially Villanueva. Took a while for him to speak to me. He didn't speak to me till year 2, and that's when I started playing. And that's when he finally spoke to me, man. And I feel like Ben was I didn't have a good relationship with Ben the first year because it was like, you drafted, but you ain't playing for us yet. So it's like, I can care less about you. I mean, one of those type of deals. And I thought Ben was a total jerk for that. But after you started playing, man, Ben was one of those guys. You had to earn your stripes to be around him, man. And you had to go play, and he had to trust and believe that he was a guy worthy enough to go play. And once he seen that, it was like, okay, now what's up, Daryl? How you doing? You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? They hear crack a joke with you, but first it was like, it was no jokes being cracked over there beside me. I mean, it was crazy. It was almost uncomfortable sitting next to him and looking sometimes. I'm like, do I say hey to him first or do he say hey to me? Like, I know he was there. I was here first, but do I say hey to him or no? He just watches golf, feet up, and then walk right past me. Like, but once again, I mean, once I learned of who Ben was and what he stood for, once you get on the field and do what you're supposed to do, that man, then he will open his mouth up and speak to you. So, man, I appreciated that, man. So once he finally said my name, I was like, oh, man, I was ready to call everybody and let them know.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, we'll answer the second part of this question, and then we actually, because we're the 3-point stance, we accept any and all comments, and this one kind of seems like a negative comment. I'll have you sort of explain it to me like I'm 5. That's an offense reference, D, if you haven't watched The Office. But what's your favorite Tomlinism?
When you say Tomlinism, what's that?
Oh, like his, his typical, like, post-game press conferences, the standard is the standard. We didn't uphold the standard
Oh, you're talking about his slogans. What was one of his favorite lines he always do? He always talked about splash plays and he always talked about A players. A players meaning like grade A players. Like if you're an A player, play like an A player. Like for instance, like TJ would be our A player, like stuff like that. He always talked about we didn't have enough like A players on the team. We had a lot of B players and stuff like that. What else we talked about, man? Definitely just like he always talked about splash. Like, we need splash. We need splash this, splash that. He's like, all right, bro, just start splashing balloons at this point. Like, bro. So probably the splash thing was one of his like favorite things to always say. Splash. Like, we looking for splash in special teams and who will make that splash on long third down. Like that basically splash explosive plays, basically. So
yeah. And I would say my favorite one is the next one. They're all gold. They're all great. Some of them get repetitive, but it's part of the nature. When you don't hold up the standard, the standard is the standard. You need to uphold it.
right.
But yeah, I always love hearing the new ones and seeing where that goes. So now we're gonna go into this. I think it's a negative comment. We got Robert Tambura. Take off your rose, black and gold colored glasses and see actual reality. ... Then it's more fun rooting for the black and gold from that perspective instead of the perspective of nose and black and gold butt. Can you read that to me like I'm 5, Derwin?
I don't get that. Hold on. Take off your rose black and gold colored glasses and see. Oh, so what it looks like he's saying is basically like right now we trumping the Steelers right now for everything is great, perfect season, and everything is so perfect. But we need to start looking at the reality of the Steelers. Like for instance, how we talked about with our expectations. Use like Super Bowl or bust. That's more of a rose black and gold colored glasses versus reality. Kind of how when Trai was like, okay, pump your brakes. Hold on. We might like we got to dominate the conference first and of course the division before we can do that. So I think he's saying more so let's see reality and not see it as like a Steelers can't do no wrong. You know what I mean? And it's hard to see it that way, you know what I mean? And that's what makes diehard fans and diehard, supporters of it. If you ain't that, I mean, then why you're a fan? You gotta always like that's like your kids. Your kids don't do no wrong, man, to other people in other people's eyes. They always right. And that's the kind of the perspective we have. But at the same time, we do know the Steelers' flaws.
And this off season they've hit. I'll be positive. They've hit every flaw that they've had so far with aggressive players. So Robert, thanks for the feedback. We appreciate any and all comments. I'll just say I don't understand where you're coming from this comment. I don't know, but thanks.
Yeah, it's more fun rooting for the black and gold from the perspective. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a great question from Brian, and then we're gonna follow that up with another. It's more of a statement from Brian.
You gonna have to take this question. I have to make a run to grab my food. But still a nation, man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate keep rocking with y'all, man. I see y'all next week, man, for our live show. Hate to run it short, but I had to go grab this good food, man, to fuel my body to keep it going every day. But man. Y'all had some great questions all night, man. Trai did a great, awesome job, man, clarifying a lot of things, man, and as well for me, man. And once again, man, let's continue to do this every week, man. Brian, Cardinal, Ian,
Miles.
who else? Miles, all you guys, man. Keep the questions in, man. We look forward to seeing y'all every week, man. Because once again, man, this is not just Steeler talk, man. This standard is a standard, man. We want to have this podcast not only just a sports podcast. We want to talk about everything, man, and the state of Pittsburgh, everything, man. And once again, man, come to our Twitter page, man. Make sure y'all hit us up on YouTube at 3 Point Stance, man. And You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we always talk back, man. So I'm D Gray, man. Appreciate y'all, man. I gotta hop off.
Peace. So, Brian, this is a great question with Darnell tight end, Littlehead, Hayward, Gentry, Pat. We can't keep all this tight ends, can we? That like I said, that's a great question. It's going to depend on how these other rooms on the offense, the numbers look. I think there is a scenario where we see all four guys, and I think that's going to be strictly because of what Hayward brings to the table, because he can play that fullback. And I know we brought in that fullback from Iowa who looks like a stud. So there's a chance he could make the team as the fullback or even the practice squad. But I love Hayward as just that do-it-all type of player because, I mean, he's a football player. You know, him and his myself and his mother talked about it last year after we drafted him on my other podcast. And I think there's a situation where it happens, but if you were to tell me which one was probably to be let go, I hate to say it, but it's probably Zach. And I don't want to see that happen. I know him and Pat have a really, really good relationship. They're tight. But yeah, that's kind of my perspective on it. Darnell's making the team. I think Connor brings too much to the table to not make the team. And Pat's obviously, in my opinion, he can be a top 5 tight end. And I know he said that on Cam's Not Just Football podcast at the Steelers draft party. Brian, this is what I tried to get to before he hopped off. Yeah, that's awesome. Me myself at my kids' camp. I looked at my kids' camp autographed football. I myself haven't been able to go to St. Vincent, and it's definitely a life goal for me. I know Dee's amazing with people and the kids. Like there's one video that I saw on YouTube of D taking this one kid around everywhere, and it was awesome to see. I'm glad he was able to do that, and it's crazy how small of a world it is. Knowing all these players, man, it's crazy. So, Miles, next week, bring this question. I love that question. Come join us next week on our live show and ask this same exact question because I'm interested to see what he has to say. Let's see. I'd love to see them win a playoff game. I think they can get in the playoffs this year, but nothing is a sure thing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was at their last playoff win in Kansas City. Was it 2016? And that's probably a top 2 sporting event moment in my life. But yeah, it's been disappointing. You know, we've had those where we've let Jacksonville score, however many points. We let Cleveland score however many points. It's getting frustrating, and I think this is the year we finally break that mold and we'll at least get one playoff victory. I think it's almost, I'm not going to say a lock, but we're pretty close to it to make the playoffs this year, in my opinion. Robert said, Mr. Gray understood me. Thanks. You're welcome, Robert. He's gone, so I'll say you're welcome for him. Miles, you guys are dopes. I'll be tuning in weekly. You picked up a new fan. You left an impression on me during that draft show. Yeah, Miles, I remember your comment. I think specifically you called me a goat. I think it was on day 3 of the draft. You had a comment. You called me a goat, and I'm a fan of yours now. So I appreciate it. I know D appreciates it. Obviously the more viewers, the more fans we have, the better. We're trying to push out great Steelers content for absolutely everybody. And we hope to be able to continue to do this thing for years to come. And we need you guys to be able to do that. Yep. Miles, I just saw your comment here. You know, we're thinking on the same level here. I think he can be that fullback. He can be that tight end. He could be he could be a running back, be a receiver. I mean, it's everything he did at Michigan State, and I think that's other than I don't think they drafted him because he was Cam's little brother, in my personal opinion. He put on great tape and he made it work. He played like 7 different positions on that offense. Yep. Again, didn't expect much from Hayward, but Hayward looked really good last year. Pat is fantastic. I like Gentry. Wonder if there's a trade possibility. I don't think we'll garner enough. If you're referring to Gentry, I don't think there'll be really any trade there because they know he's probably the odd man out in that room. If it all plays out that way. I mean, sure, maybe if somebody's dying to get him and they want to guarantee getting him, but I think it's hard to do that when teams know that that's probably the odd man out. Yep, Ian, I completely agree with you. And what's funny is you and Brian Davis, 3 minutes apart, had essentially the same exact statement. Yeah, I agree. Herbig, learning from TJ and Alex, that's going to be great. I love him as the potential third pass rusher. I think he can get around, you know, obviously we're not going to expect double-digit sacks from him if he's that third pass rusher, which I think he can be. I think we can see somewhere from 5 to 6 sacks, in my opinion, from a third pass rusher. That's great. I mean, it's more than we saw from Malik Reed last year, which I had pretty decent expectations for. Like I said, Brian, you had a similar question or statement that they had a relationship. And that's obviously they play the same position. They went to the same school. He went up to Wisconsin and worked with defense for 2023 season. Yeah, that part I would have assumed that, but I didn't know for a fact. So thanks for bringing that up. And you can see it. I mean, Nick plays like TJ. He's relentless, has a high motor. It's something we talked about in the recording tonight that will be released tomorrow. All 3-point stance episodes will be released every Thursday. We don't have a set time yet, like of the day. We'll figure that out. What works best? You guys can let us know what works best for you guys. When's the most opportune time for you guys to come tune in, listen to the podcast on YouTube, or going on Spotify, Apple Podcast, whichever. You let us know a good time that you want to hear us talk Steelers football. You just let us know in the comments, and that would be amazing. But yeah, Herbig and TJ, like they compared him. They said he could be a TJ, and that's a big could. Obviously, you know, he's a 4th round pick. TJ was a 1st round pick, and TJ, you know, is on track to be a Hall of Famer. So it's kind of hard to if he's half of TJ, we won that pick. That's where I'll talk about the Herbig situation. And yeah, watching Herbig's draft reaction, yeah, you know, his brother Nate was there. It was awesome to see that energy come out. Brian, yeah, Herbig is new Spillane. They play 2 different positions. In my opinion, I want to see more Mark Robinson this year. I think he's going to be that 3rd rotational guy, unless there's rumors that Miles Jack could be back. Yeah, so that's just my personal opinion. They play two different positions. Kind of hard to, you know, translate or relay that into the same thing. But Spillane, you know, he was good player for us, solid. It was time. It was time for him to head on somewhere else. Miles, another great question. Why did you guys call it 3-point stance? So originally we were the terrible DGAF show. We got offered to come be a part of Steeler Nation, and we were already in talks of changing the name up. And obviously with D being a offensive lineman, I mean, and my buddy, shout out Kerry Thompson, I was running ideas by him for names, and he came up with this name. He was like, yeah, he's an offensive lineman. This just makes sense. We ran it by our Steeler Nation owner, and it just clicked. It's offensive lineman, former offensive lineman for the Steelers, and obviously we just had Trai Essex. So like moments like that, it just makes the podcast make sense. 3-point stance, football terminology, offensive lineman. It just clicks, hits on all marks, and it's catchy. Ian, thanks for the answer, Caleb. Yes, go Steeler Nation. That's what I'm talking about. Is it because of the whole O-line team? Miles, what are you in reference to on this question? If you are still in here, which I think you are. Mark me that high energy, aggressive. So before I get to this question, I'll go to this. Yes, I agree. He reminds me of Vince Williams. I think he's a little bit more athletic than him. Yeah, I agree. Brian, no, I don't think so. He hasn't garnered any interest. I mean, if he was going to be expensive, he would have been signed at this point. And as each day goes by, his price tag's probably going down. Oh, wait. What branch, where are you stationed? Thank you for serving. I appreciate that, Brian. I'm actually in the Air Force, and I am stationed at Peterson Air Force Base, or Space Force Base now. I appreciate it. I'm almost 10 years in. I'm at a cross threshold. I might stay in, I might get out. So we'll see. But I've been a firefighter in the Air Force for almost 10 years now. So I appreciate that, Brian. And this is back to that one question. It was in regards to 3-point segment. I figured it was because D was O-line. Yep. You hit the nail right on the head with that one, Miles. Again, I appreciate all your guys' input. I hope you guys tune in tomorrow for the 3-point stance podcast. Like I said, it's a little bit longer than usual. It had a lot of locker room like feel between Trey and D, and then my injections into the show. I just kind of wanted to sit back and hear those two guys bounce each other's statements and their thoughts off each other's heads. So it was a great episode. I hope you guys come and watch it. Before we cut out, Miles had another great one. Yeah, the medical process can be very hard. It's very, very difficult, though. When you're trying to get in, the medical part is the hardest part. Yep, and I actually just got my EMT cert not too long ago. That was a pain. That was a pain, Miles. Robert, you're welcome. You're welcome. Cardinal, I completely agree with you. And it's like Ben said, weird that that call went for the Patriots. My wife is a combat medic. I am a Keesler for base. So I am pretty sure my old supervisor is at Keesler. Your wife, if she's a combat medic, if she is currently in, she might know my old supervisor. He's Master Sergeant Derek Levesque. Great guy. Yep. It was rough. It was rough. But this is where I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna go get back to my 9-month pregnant wife. She misses me. I've been down here for almost 3.5 hours now. She is probably furious. I just want to say I love you guys, and you guys keep giving us that feedback, positive or negative. Come tune in the 3 Point Stance podcast. Any chance you get, the more views, the better. And make sure you guys come out to a Steelers game. Dean and I will announce after the schedule which game we are planning on coming to, so you guys will have a chance to, we'll have a meet and greet session. We'll try and do a live show somewhere, if not at the terrible tailgate. But yes, I appreciate you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week.